big old air handler is giving us some issues. For some reason, the discharge air temp is just oscillating. So I'm trying to figure out if that's a controls issue. I'm tapped in here to the power supply to the board, the signal in from tracer and of course ground. And then over here, I've had my logger going. Let's see what we got going on. Okay, so it's been recording overnight actually. We'll stop that. Stop data capture. Yes. All right, let's see what we got. Now that we're out of the noisy mechanical room, I'm going to show a few things here. So I just was using this as an input, and then ground. Now, this is an awesome piece of equipment, but I would recommend you don't want to go buying this even if you think you need it unless you're pretty familiar with scopes. I will say this, you know, you really have to know what you're doing. Fortunately, all of these grounds from what I can see are isolated, and that is phenomenal. You really, with multiple channels, if these aren't isolated, oh boy, you better watch out. And then you really got to be careful with AC too. You can really easily fry something by putting AC into a device like this. I did want to hook up my transducers, but I didn't have the fittings with me, and I'll show my setup for those here in a little bit. But let's see what kind of data we can get out of this thing. All right, now I'm still learning this software, so bear with me. I'm also trying to watch my computer through my filming screen, which is horrible. All right, there we go. So I'm connected to the logger. Now I want to, oh yeah, like I said, I'm still learning this software. Oh, it's up here. Open. All right, so here's my total capture time. And it looks like the cursors just give you relative time. So in Excel, you could easily figure out exactly what time you're dealing with from the start. Let's zoom in here, like right there. Now, you'll notice this wave looks all wonky, right? And that's totally fine. This is not a high resolution or a high sample rate capture. My sampling interval is only 100 milliseconds. So the AC sine wave could be anywhere as it's taking the point, which is why it looks like this. The main thing I don't want to see is like a flat line for a while around 0, and I'm not seeing that. Now, if we cut off, let's see, channel 1, we can see that, let me go back to auto scale. We can see that we had tracer here cut this thing out during unoccupied, and no other glitches in the signal, and I see no other glitches on channel 1 either. So this is not going to be some kind of glitch from tracer, although I did find that input, or I should say output, from tracer intermittently glitching. So it's no longer doing that. Let me mention a few other things. So this is a really high sample rate for this length of time. So it took maybe 5 minutes to import this data. That's a lot of data. And you know, just to like see, that's a lot of points, you know what I mean? But anyways, really cool. Let me play with this a little bit more, and I'll see what else I can show on. Now, besides the pressure, I would have liked to have graphed DAT as well, so we could see what that was doing. But in order to do that, I need a really long thermocouple, and you can't just extend thermocouples with normal wire. It's got to be thermocouple wire, right? But that's in the works, and I'll eventually get some extensions and get all the different stuff set up that I need to really utilize this thing. But so far, very, very impressed. Here's my setup right here for pneumatics. So just a 30 psi transducer, and if you're curious about the wiring, all these are pretty much the same. They're 3 pins. You got a power, which is normally 5 volts, and then your ground and your signal. So the Graphtec will be looking at the ground. It'll be hooked up to the ground and the signal, and these are the voltage output, and the pressure is pretty linear. So all you need is a couple points, and then you can just have Excel calculate the formula there, and so you can put any value in and get the corresponding pressure. But it'll also graph nicely, so you may not need the exact pressure, but you might just be looking for dropouts or whatever. I also have some 500 psi ones for the refrigerant. I'm going to be making more videos with this thing, so you'll get to see all of this. But you know, here's an example of the kind of current clamp you need, and of course all of these attachments and things that I've made up. And with the thermocouples, to get them to fit in that 8-channel terminal block, I just split out the spades and had to narrow that one down. Basically, your chromal is going to be your positive, and the LML the negative, if I'm even saying that right. But a lot of times they're marked. Yep, see that one? AO right there. Now, if you have like pretty straightforward stuff in commercial, you're probably not going to need this, probably not in residential. But in these high rises that I'm working in, it is pneumatics that Metasys has been laid over and Tracer has been laid over that. So it is an absolute controls nightmare, and that's what this is for, getting into that and seeing what's actually going on. And yeah, you can sort of graph some stuff in Tracer, but you're not going to be graphing any of that Metasys stuff, and man, it is really hard to see what's really going on until you take actual measurements.